Apple just wrapped up their fall event where they announced a plethora of updates, including a new MacBook Air, a new Mac Mini, and a new iPad Pro. Let's unpack the details of the event and discuss what happened and what I got wrong. First, we see widespread proliferation of Apple's T2 security chip across all of its Macs. If you're unfamiliar with the T2 security chip, we were first introduced to it back in 2016 when Apple announced the MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. The first iteration of this chip was responsible for Touch ID as well as driving the Touch Bar display. Then Apple expanded its capabilities in 2017 when it launched the iMac Pro. This implementation added a secure enclave for on-the-fly data encryption, as well as adding a system controller for many functions on the iMac, including the image signal processor, the audio processor, and the SSD controllers. Apple is expanding the role of the T2 chip to include new functionality such as always on, Hey Siri. Second, a dedicated processor as part of the T2 chip that is specifically used for H.265 encoding. And number 3 is the hardware ejection of a microphone on a Mac laptop with the lid closed. So next we have the upgrades to the MacBook Air. So the previous MacBook Air had grown long in the tooth and been neglected, not showing or not getting much love from Apple in many years. During yesterday's event, Apple renewed its commitment to the MacBook Air by announcing a new 13-inch portable with a Retina display. The display on the 13-inch MacBook Air comes at 2560 by 1600 native resolution with 227 pixels per inch. At a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So when looking at display, the new versus the old, it is leaps and bounds better than the previous generation. In terms of I/O, the MacBook Air gained access to 2 USB-C ports on the left-hand side of the machine. These both support Thunderbolt 3, giving a max throughput of 40 gigabits per second. Somehow making its way through the battlefield of courage, the MacBook Air retains the 3.5mm jack, but loses MagSafe and the SD card reader. In addition to the Retina display and Thunderbolt 3 connectivity, the MacBook Air gains access to Touch ID sans the Touch Bar. Moving on the pricing, Apple keeps the previous generation at $999, and you can upgrade to the Retina display for $200 more. Much like I talked about in my event preview video, the MacBook Mini received Pro-like styling and updated features, which really underscore why so many people love this device. Let's talk through the updates. It's space gray. What else is really needed? I mean, it looks professional. Apple did us a solid here by raising the price by $100 to $799. This entry-level configuration gets you a 3.6 gigahertz quad-core Coffee Lake processor with 128 gigs of RAM. Wow, that would be awesome. With 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. And just in case your pocketbook isn't hurting you yet, you have another option. This is coming in at $1,099. This gets you a 3 gigahertz 6-core Coffee Lake processor with turbo boost up to 4 gigahertz. You get 256 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. But wait, there's more. This machine will actually support up to 64 gigs of RAM for $1,400 and up to 2 terabytes of storage, that also $1,400. Bringing up the grand total to $4,100 for a Mac Mini fully spec'd out. Wow, just wow. Apple released new iPad Pro devices featuring all new styling and giving users a choice between an 11-inch or 12.9-inch liquid Retina display that runs edge to edge. The new iPad Pro is smaller, lighter, and more compact than previous generations thanks to the liquid Retina LCD display and the reduction of bezels. At the center of the iPad Pro, you will find Apple's latest system-on-a-chip processor, the A12X Bionic, featuring over 10 billion transistors for those computationally intensive tasks. The new 8-core Fusion CPU features 4 high-performance and 4 efficiency cores, in addition to a new system controller that allows all 8 cores to be used simultaneously during multi-threaded intensive workflows. Adjacent to that CPU, you are going to find the newly designed 7-core GPU, which is giving 2 times performance over the already fast A10X, which was found in the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I don't know about you, but my 10.5-inch from last year is already screaming fast, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the new version. It's going to be like ludicrous speed. Then there's the neural engine that I referred to earlier. This is capable of processing over 5 trillion operational transactions per second. That means your iPad Pro can quickly and efficiently classify a photo from a picture that you just took while simultaneously unlocking your device using Face ID. It's that fast. So fast that single-core workflows are up 35% and multi-core workflows are up 90%. I guess we'll need to see the results of real-world tests and to draw our own conclusions. Subscribe to the channel because I have one coming next Friday and I'm going to put it through its paces. True depth sensors mean that Animoji and Memoji come along for the ride in addition to that portrait lighting feature, which we love to hate if you're on iOS 12, but the jury's still out if you're on iOS 12.1. For me, not a lot of change there. The iPad Pro features a 12 megapixel sensor, much like it did last year. It should perform decently in low light photos, though who's going to kind of carry a photo in low light conditions, because it has a f1.8 aperture. This should allow you to get comparable photos as you are used to taking with your iPad Pro. I do find it a little bit strange that Apple didn't mention the quality of the camera on stage, and when you review the specs page, you see that the new iPad Pro, one, loses a single element of what was the 6-element lens, and it no longer has optical image stabilization or OIS. And with that said, it is too early to comment on whether or not the quality of the photo will be impacted by the reduction or the removal of these two features. We don't need hashtag iPad Photogate yet. Just slow your roll. We'll get the iPad in and we'll start taking photos and compare them. Much to my own and a number of other individual surprises, the iPad Pro ditches Lightning in favor of USB-C. What can I say? You can't hit the ball every time you're at bat. This opens up a world of new use cases that better position the iPad Pro as a true PC replacement without the need for a dongle to do part of the job. I mean, now I can even charge my phone from my iPad Pro. I wonder if I could charge my computer via USB-C. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see any specific testing or any type of testing using the iPad Pro as a source, and we'll get on with that when it comes in next week. One of the new use cases that I previously discussed in my last video was being able to connect my iPad Pro directly to a camera to pull content off, which seems like it's going to be supported, which is great. Additionally, the ability to extend or mirror the display from an iPad Pro. It does require developer support, so that will be kind of limited at first, but it is great that these two kind of key features are being implemented. Apple kept the same storage options available from last year in addition to adding a 1 terabyte option of storage. As they indicated during the event, the need for USB Type-C was necessitated once they added a new fast storage controller. As I previously reported, the Apple Pencil will exclusively work with the new iPad Pro, which means you will need to shell out $130 to get a new Apple Pencil. While this might irk some, it is a worthy upgrade because you would have no way to charge your Apple Pencil because the Lightning port is gone. Developers will need to implement support for the gestures before you can take advantage of them in their apps. From the removal of the silly cap that you probably lost 3 or 4 times that covered the Lightning port on the Pencil to the way you used to charge and sync it, Apple really went back to the drawing board and rethought how customers use their Pencil. Along those same lines, Apple has redesigned what was the Smart Keyboard case and is now the Smart Folio case to cover the entire back of the device, shielding it from bumps and scratches. That newly named Smart Folio case works exactly as it did before. You connect it using the dock connector on the back of the iPad, and it charges using the iPad's battery. The 11-inch iPad Pro starts at $799. You can configure it up to 1 terabyte for $1549 and add LTE for an extra $150. If you want to go the 12.9 route, starts at $999, configurable up to 1 terabyte for $1749 and an additional $150 for LTE, bringing the grand total up to $1899. That about wraps up Tuesday's event. Let me know what you're excited for. I picked up the new Mac Mini as well as the iPad Pro, and they'll be here Wednesday. So stay tuned to the channel, hit subscribe, click the notification bell, and smash that like button. We'll talk to you soon.